Jimmy, you get fucking papers up here. The fuck is my goddamn other paper? Jesus. You're going to see some wild footage of the India plane crash where there was unbelievably one survivor on this whole deal. It was a stunning exploding crash of a big jetliner, almost 250 dead. You can't believe one survivor out of this. Here's the footage. There's a plane as it's going down and it hits the ground. You see the mushroom cloud of fuel and just a massive explosion going on here. Incredible, incredible footage that was caught on the surveillance cameras out there. It was tragic seeing that poor guy is gonna need some really good grief counseling, survivors counseling on that. It was a devastating miracle he survived of that. The other big story of the day, California Senator Alex Padilla crashed a press conference Homeland Security Chief Kristi Noem had in Los Angeles updating on the riots. He thought he could just barge in and take over the press conference because he's a U.S. Senator. Well, the federales had something to say to him, put him in cuffs. Here's some of the footage.
I want to talk specifically to the rioters and to the politicians in Los Angeles.
The matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your.
I also want to talk about how many of our ICE agents have been doxxed.
Rotating on your.
So we'll have some more on the Padilla story and his whole entourage political career in California. What a maroon of that. Brevard County Sheriff. The Brevard County Sheriff in Florida is a chump. The Brevard County Sheriff had something to say to all those who are in this country unlawfully and illegally, and what is going to happen to them in Brevard County. Here we go.
I'm gonna break it down for you, all right? And if somebody wants to know what I mean by turn violent, all right, this is what I mean. If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail tired because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over.
We'll have more from the Brevard County Sheriff later on in the show. That's the way it should be done. The dude that was handing out the masks, riot gear in Los Angeles, suspect, was arrested today by Bill Asaley and crew. So good job on that. And the ICE agents. I'm sure Asaley's going to charge him once he does an investigation. He may not, but I would rather doubt it. Former San Bernardino County District Attorney Mike Ramos has been disbarred or suspended by the California State Bar Association. We'll have more on that in a minute. Donald J. Trump was right, as usual.
You. Are we okay? Nothing wrong, right? It's going to keep going down a little bit, right? Because we have inflation under control perfectly. You probably saw the records. Everyone's on television saying, what's going on here? Trump has proven to be right. You know, all of these things.
Yes, he has. That was at the ceremony reversing the stupid California ban on gas-powered vehicles. Democrat presidents on people in the country illegally or unlawfully, aka illegal aliens. If we can get the right 1-2 play, I guess we're not going to have that.
Remember this.
If you're a criminal, you'll be deported. If you plan to enter the U.S. illegally, your chances of getting caught and sent back just went up. The actions I'm taking are not only lawful, they're the kinds of actions taken by every single Republican president and every single Democratic president for the past half century.
Enough said. The Messiah Barack Obama said, deporting people in this country illegally and unlawfully has been done by Democratic presidents, Republican presidents, for time immemorial. They called Barack Obama the deporter in chief. Wow. Guitar music that comes in every Monday through Friday, live 5 in the Evil Hippie Network, Rumble, X, YouTube on the Roy Blecker channel for right now. See how else everything else goes. What a day. So one of these days, and I thought, well, I did. I thought once Trump got elected, well, everything would be okay, and somewhat it is. But the news, it just keeps coming. Every rocket fire, like coming out of an old-fashioned military Tommy gun sometimes. Rapid fire, just 24/7, 365, blasting you with all sorts of stuff. Most of it so far has been good. Trump reversing the gas car ban that Newsom's put on and then calling him an idiot. On top of that, we'll get into more of the churla, how our money has been spent. Our taxpayer funds, it appears with nobody's business, have been spent totally on this whole illegal alien debacle, and then trying to get them out of the country. We might play more from that clip that the young lady put together First one was with Barack Obama. The second will be Team Clinton, 2 presidents and 1 presidential candidate. Both saying, get them the hell out. Hillary Clinton, when she was running for president, when Donald J. beat her the first time he ran, she said, if you're in this country illegally, you're going back to the end of the line. And if you come into this country, you are learning English. No translation, no accommodation, no Asian anything. Do you understand? And if you came in illegally the first time, you're going to pay a heavy fine. Trump's not saying that. Look at the PSAs that Kristi Noem's putting out there. If you deport, we'll give you $1,000, give you plane fare, whatever it takes to get you back. We know it ain't 100% your fault, mostly. But we recognize that you were under false, came here, or were under false pretenses. And there is going to be almost zero support for the Democrats if they keep this up, especially if they try the Padilla, can't even say his name, Alex Padilla. If they keep up with this tactic that they have been using, they're going to be totally screwed. They're going to run themselves right into the freaking ground. The Democrats were the left. I don't know where their strategy is coming from. Well, I do. Well, let me put it this way. I think their whole enchilada, and of course they've been scrambling. The polling numbers don't look good. Maybe we'll get into, I don't know, we'll get into it today, but Public Policy Institute of California just came out with their annual quarterly survey. And they survey, do you like the president? You like how Congress? You like what the government, our legislature? How do you think the economy's going? What do you think of California? What are the top issues? They do it every 3 months. So they just came out with their summer or mid-year polling. And it's like everything else. It's confirmed most everything we know. Now, California is always lagging in this latest go around because we've been so far deep blue, but we're still seeing the same trends turn in California. Still, the electorate in California is a little mixed up, and it shows in the PPIC polling, but we'll get to that, if not today, tomorrow. But this is what I believe the strategy, or what they're panicking. They don't know. All the old Democratic tricks, Hegelism, create a crisis where one didn't exist, and then walk in with the solution, and the whole bag of tricks. Outshout everybody, doesn't matter what, if anybody brings up a fact or it isn't too good, you just turn the subject and say, well, you point fingers at somebody else, or wave your arms, pound on the table, scream and holler, protest, block the roads, burn the town down, whatever you got to get your way. Not much different than a 3-year-old. But that's a lot of the mentality that they have. So, this is my take on the strategy. Is first they were going to try badass. We're going to be street thugs. We're going we're going to be like Maxine Waters. You've seen it in Gavin Newsom's podcast when he had that no balls player on. And that didn't work out. And it's F word this and S word that and C word this and BS and all this stuff. They're trying to be street, get their street. Newsom was trying to get his street cred up. He's going to hang with the bros and the football players and whatever they are. But that backfired. So then he came up, well, I'm going to try to go with the conservatives and do that. That backfired. Klobuchar. What? 60 or 50-something-year-old woman, senator from Minnesota, is going to start using four-letter words. Talk about totally out of character. Goes on and on. They were all trying, or a lot of them were trying to do. Tampon Timmy was down here in down in Anaheim at the Democratic State Convention, California Convention, trying to sound tough, four-letter words and stuff. That totally went over. They did this. Mind you, they're trying to track Trump at every deal. Remember, even in the first Trump, but especially in the second campaign, he would say the BS word or go to hell or damn or whatever. But that's Trump. Trump has the persona. He's built a persona where he could get away with that. His TV show, You're Fired. He has that gravitas persona that allows him to get away with that. Alex Padilla is about as milk frickin' toast as you can get. I mean, other than a couple, like I said, the 1.3% political geeks like me that see him, he shows up on, all the local news shows, Conan O'Brien News Conference, Alex Michelson's 11 The Issue Is, and stuff like that. NPR broadcasts, radio broadcasts, all the milk, and he's about as boring. I may have run Alex Padilla since he's been senator, state senator. What did he get to be Secretary of State? Then he got appointed, I think, when Barbara Boxer died. And that was Newsom trying to get some cred. Here's Newsom's appointment. Barbara Boxer dies. Oh, he appoints the Latino Padilla. Who quit in Secretary of State, I don't remember, replaces with a black woman, Shirley Weber. Then, when Javier Baccaria got plucked out of the sky and got sent to the Biden administration, he picks Rob Bonta out of the assembly and puts him in as attorney general, and Rob's Asian, he's a Filipino. So they were placating. This is what everything they do on their scorecard has a reason. But they're sitting there with this whole deal. They saw Trump after he was shot. Well, two things. After the phony raid on Mar-a-Lago about the documents and the mugshot. And they thought, it was over for Trump. They put out the mugshot. That was the first. Especially black men under 45 said, yeah, we've been talking about this for years. Trump's getting the same treatment we have. Then when he got shot, that was the coup de grace. He's got street cred, even in the hood, even in the barrio, even in Chinatown, because they see the same, Trump getting the same treatment they have. And they, like everyone said, and Trump said, if they're going to do it to me, what chance do you have? So they've thought all this stuff, and they've come up with, and they couldn't get him with that. So then they see Trump has this street cred and persona that they gave him, that they basically created for him. Now you have today, as milquetoast as you can get, state senator, or U.S. Senator from California, Alex Padilla, and he's kind of a big guy. He's not a slouch. He's a pretty good sized dude. As we said in the intro, Kristi Noem's here in LA, head of Homeland Security for Trump, giving an update on the riots and what's going on. So Padilla says in his press conference, I'm around, da 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 da. He barges right in, and I got questions. Wanted to take over her press conference. Mind you, I'm in this. He's been in the business. He knows the procedure. When whatever, U.S. Senator, HHS Secretary, President of the United States, City Councilman, Sewer Cleaning Commissioner, whomever. Okay, I call a press conference. I may take questions, I may not. If I take questions from the press, fine. If you take questions from the public, which he is a member of the public, I don't care if you're a U.S. Senator. If it's a town hall meeting where that's set up, fine. But that's usually, this is not what this was. So you just don't barge into somebody else's, especially the Homeland Security deal. I don't care if you're a U.S. Senator. The only person that may be able to get away with that is Kristi Noem's boss, whose name is Donald J. Trump. Padilla is not Kristi Noem's boss. Trump is. He may have oversight over it, and he may be able to call hearings. And then, like Kristi Noem said, if you want a meeting, just give me a call and we'll have a deal. We'll have a meeting. You want to talk about it? Was not. So they think they're going to get this street cred. They think they're going to be badass. They think they're going to they're trying to create this commotion. Look at Newsom with his press conference the other night. Oh, Trump says they're trying. Now they're trying to go back to Orange Man bad. So let's go back to the presser. And this is Padilla getting handcuffed after he tries to take over Kristi Noem's press conference.
Guys, ready? And sir, hands up, hands up. I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary, because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your
I also want to
hands up.
I love how Kristi Noem stopped there for a second while the ruckus was going, but then as soon as she picks it right up. Now, Kristi Noem is another one, truly badass. And I got this advice from Mr. Alex Padilla. You know, one of the last persons I'd come out with is Kristi Noem acting like a rabid dog. Because as we heard in her book and her interviews a few months ago, what she does to rabid dogs. So I think Alex Padilla should thank his lucky stars. The federal government, the federal agents, Secret Service, FBI, whoever that was, were there to keep Kristi Noem away from Alex Padilla from acting like a rabid dog. Here we go, more of it.
our ice agents have been docked for doing their
On the ground. On the ground.
There he is being
Hands behind your
cuffed.
back. Hands behind your back.
If you let my hands go, put them behind my back.
All right. Cool. One hand. Lay flat. Lay flat. Other hand check.
So there he is
Other
being
hand.
handcuffed. I love it that get your hands off me. Hey, they're a sworn law enforcement officer. They can put the cuffs on you anytime they feel necessary. Dude. So, and again, Alex Padilla cannot get away with this kind of stuff because that's not in his personality. He's the most soft-spoken, just like I said, milquetoast. No, just nothing. I mean, there isn't. again, this is not in his persona to do this. He has no cred. It isn't that. But this is their new talking point. Or their new strategy, since everything they've tried to do and throw at Trump has went down the toilet. Like we said, Mark Mitchell's new polling, 4-day polling, Trump's approval ratings are up to 53%. And going higher since the raid happened. It's beyond the freaking pale. Of how ridiculously idiotic they have been. Now, I will tell you how milquetoast this guy is. This is from The Hill about his arrest. But again, Kevin Jeffries, who worked with him in the California legislature and was a former just retired Riverside County supervisor. He was in the assembly when, I don't know if Padilla was in the assembly, but I know he was in the Senate, but they were in there at the same time. He said the same thing. This is totally out of character for Alex Padilla. Most mild-mannered guy you'd ever meet. He doesn't go barging into press conferences. This has to be the new strategy. You heard it from Newsom. You heard it from Tampon Timmy. We'll get into the hearings today with Tampon Timmy and the other governors. So to wrap up with the Alex Padilla debacle, so afterwards he was released. I don't know that there was any charges filed. But he starts off his press conference with...
So you guys have some questions. I'm going to read a brief statement. I will not be taking questions, but allow me to read my statement.
He's not taking any questions. He demanded that Kristi Noem answer his questions. He starts off the press conference after the arrest or after the detaining. I will not be taking any questions.
I'm here in Los Angeles today, and I was here in the federal building, in the conference room, awaiting a scheduled briefing from federal officials as part of my responsibility as a senator to provide oversight and accountability. While I was waiting for the briefing with General Guillot, I learned that Secretary Noem was having a press conference a couple of doors down the hall.
So this is where we're at. He didn't go there to specifically ask Kristi Noem. Somebody in the regime of the center left said, "Hey, this is the plot. We need you to go down there, barge into Noem's office, and make a ruckus." And Alex, this is the question I'm asking you, Alex. Since you wouldn't take questions there, and I'm a constituent of yours, member of the press. Prove me wrong. Oh, you just said, well, I'll just roll into Noem's office and do that. When you know that is, you're breaking every protocol rule in the book. And you're supposed to set the example as a United States Senator from California, and you're making an ass of yourself and an ass of the state, of the people that you're supposed to be representing.
Since the beginning of the year, but especially over the course of the last over the course of recent weeks, several of my colleagues, have been asking the Department of Homeland Security for more information and more answers on their increasingly extreme immigration enforcement actions.
They're not extreme. They're no different, as a young lady said. And Barack Obama said, every president, Republican, Democrat, green with a horn sticking out of their head, has done the exact, not even as much as Donald J. Trump, not even as extreme. You weren't saying a peep about this, clown. Holy bejesus. Let's remind Alex of this.
Remember this.
If you're a criminal, you'll be deported. If you plan to enter the U.S. illegally, your chances of getting caught and sent back just went up. The actions I'm taking are not only lawful, they're the kinds of actions taken by every single Republican president and every single Democratic president for the past half century.
You wouldn't believe that looking at the media today, though. They act like Trump is the worst, most evil person ever for deporting illegal alien criminals. Yet Obama, Bill Clinton, and other Democrats were all on board with this for years up until Trump, and they're on tape saying so.
Committed a crime, deport them. No questions asked, they're gone.
Public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers. That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before, by cracking down on illegal hiring, by barring welfare benefits to illegal aliens.
We use phrases like undocumented workers. We convey a message to the American people that their government is not serious about combating illegal immigration.
Oh, really?
We simply cannot allow people to pour into the United States undetected, undocumented, unchecked.
We will try to do more to speed the deportation of illegal aliens who are arrested.
So here we go. Even Chuck E. Schumer, for crying out loud. It's absolutely 1000% this is the biggest con job. They will look right into the camera and lie to you every day. The whole center left, the whole illegal immigration crowd, the whole set of politicians, one day it's this, the next day it's that. Two-faced SOBs have never been bigger in our earth. Here's Congresswoman Norma Torres, another one of the illegal alien cartel cabal.
Call it what it is, a disgraceful abuse of power. Senator Padilla was handcuffed and dragged out of for daring to ask a question. This wasn't a threat, it's dissent, and they crushed it with force. They're not keeping us safe, they're trying to silence us.
Nobody's trying to silence you, you witch. You know you're sitting there lying through your teeth. You're lying to the people you represent. You're lying to the same Latino people that have the same last name as you, Torres. But again, we got a guy that says keep it up. Maybe we'll play that tomorrow. Faster than you Friday. A lot of this stuff is beyond the pale. I want to get to the tampon Timmy setup because we're talking about this. But first, Congresswoman believes she's from South Carolina, Nancy Mace, had this. They had governors there and they're talking about the immigration stuff and all that. Of course, she asked the big question, this very difficult question.
What is a woman? What is a woman is the question.
I'm not sure I understand the question here.
That,
What do you want me to say? This is
what Nancy Mace wants you to say, Tampon Tim, is what is a woman? We all know the Matt Walsh documentary.
I want you to say that a woman like me is an adult human female, that men can't become women. You guys are the party of violence, and you're the party erasing women. You don't respect us. You're a bigot. You're a misogynist. You're a sexist. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
That's because Nancy Mace has that persona, and she's been fighting for this and women's rights, been up front on no boys and girls sports or bathrooms and all this other stuff. Like, Tim, I don't know how to answer that question. Very easy, Tim. A woman is a female. There's two sexes in the human race, male, female. About 50% one or the other. We can start, and if you want to have a biology course, we can start talking about the physical characteristics if you like to go into that. But I think most of us know what that are. Here's Tom Emmer, a congressman from his home state where Tampon Timmy is governor of Minnesota, raking him over the coals. Here we go.
You just claim that you support policies. You're not a sanctuary state, but you support policies that prevent ICE from doing their job.
Congressman,
Isn't that right?
That is incorrect, Congressman. We follow the same laws when you were in the Minnesota House. The law has not changed,
If you'll allow me, I've got limited time. Well, that's what you tweeted, by the way, sir. And on May 23rd, 2018, you tweeted, quote, "I support policies that keep law enforcement from enforcing federal laws," close quote. You just claim that you support policies. You're not a sanctuary state, but you support policies that prevent ICE from doing their job.
Congressman,
Isn't that right?
That is incorrect, Congressman. We follow the same laws when you were in the Minnesota House. The law has not changed,
If you'll allow me, I've got limited time. Well, that's what you tweeted, by the way.
That's what you tweeted, by the way.
You just claim that you support policies. You're not a sanctuary.
He has supported, will continue to support. Tampon Timmy didn't have any problem, zero problem saying anything or having the National Guard go down the middle of neighborhoods to keep people in their homes during COVID. But pray tell, he does not want the National Guard to go to in his state to get rid of
State, but you support policies that prevent ICE from doing.
30 seconds, 30 seconds.
That's the hypocrisy of all this stuff. It's out of control. No, it's not out of control. They know exactly what they're doing. We'll pick up with some more very interesting stuff coming up. Get into all this, how your tax money is being used to fund all this. You're funding the illegals.
5 seconds. Here we go.
Funding them now. It's ridiculous.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or
There's 75 guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday, live at 5:30 on the Mighty Met 1490 AM. Join your best video audience on the Evil FB Network, Rumble, X, YouTube on the Roy Blecker channel right now, and far and wide all over the internet. Man, what a day. That guy, that horrible crash there in India, that big jetliner almost 250 died. One guy escaped out of that. And I mean, when it hit the ground, it just to take off full load of fuel, didn't make it back down. And I mean, blew up, looked like Nagasaki or Hiroshima, I'll get it out, of that. And it was just, this guy made it out of the exit. He was right by the exit, got out. Man, he's going to need some grief counseling of, survivor's remorse of that. I hope he gets it. I hope he can deal with that because, man, and his brother was on the plane in a few sheets and obviously perished in the crash. So he was very fortunate to survive it. Condolences to all those who lost loved ones in that tragic plane crash. That happens very, very, very rare in our society. Alex Padilla, U.S. Senator, was detained for a bit, cuffed as he tried to crash Homeland Security's Kristi Noem's meeting, and he knows he shouldn't. He knows the protocol. He shouldn't have been. There was no reason for him to be doing that, yet he did. Man, it's just haywire. They arrested that dude who was passing out the masks, and we'll get to how most likely he got the money or the ability to have the masks and the riot gear he was passing out to all those illegally rioting, trying to protect illegal aliens. We went through Tampon Timmy Walls, who testified at Congress today. He was for the National Guard, had them going down neighborhoods, keeping Minnesota residents locked in their houses during COVID. But boy, go after people illegally rioting, protecting people in this country unlawfully or legally. Oh no, we can't do that. Plus Tom Emmer, the congressman from Minnesota, put him on the carpet, and Nancy Mace put him on the carpet, asking him the very hard question to answer: what is a woman? Man, we got lots of fun stuff. Local stuff we'll get to here in a bit. But one of the story that may be happening, and one of the things that may break out from all this, from Doge and Musk and all that's come on, and Trump 2.0, we were starting to get into the whole, where's this $40 billion of USA aid money going? Zelensky with the Ukraine war saying, hey, you claim United States sent Ukraine $250 billion. I don't know where it went. I only got $75 billion of it. I mean, that goes back Mike Benz from the Ukraine war back in the 14 and 15s and all that, who's been pointing out the corruption and all that stuff. This go long before even this part, or even before Zelensky was in, and all the others. This whole deal when we were in Afghanistan and every other stand, and the multiple trillions of dollars we spent over there. That money has been laundered through these non-government organizations, through our CIA, through our military, through a whole bunch of tangled web. We pointed it out. Like we said, where does somebody in Ecuador who doesn't have 10 cents to their frickin' name get 10 grand to pay a coyote once they've come through, marched from South America up through Mexico to pay a coyote to come across? That money has been in brown paper sacks, like we said, at Gavin Newsom's house, practically every other stupid politician who's been defending the destruction of America. Laura Powell was the first one to bring out this whole Churla deal where they got, 30-some million from us, the California taxpayer, and about 3 or 4 million from the U.S. government. The Trump shut off the last $100,000. 34 million, I think, from California taxpayers about 3 or 4 million from the U.S. taxpayers. This is Laura Powell's article the other day. Taxpayers subsidize LA unrest through California's protest industrial complex. The political engine for the open borders left was given $34 million by the government. They're showing the protesters, and as you see, of the whole deal of Los Angeles erupting into the riots. And then we heard the mass story where we got the deal, but take you back to the George Floyd days, a couple years ago. And pallets of bricks were showing up just out of the blue for the rioters, occupiers, looters. And the more we dug into it, and everybody asked a question and nobody came up with any answers, Laura Powell's been digging into it. She's done the in-depth stories, started it. She was the first one to break it. Jen Van Laar, who we had on the show, same thing. Salas, who was down there with David Herta, she's the head of this Churla organization, was down there with Herta. And notice he got arrested, just like Alex Padilla. Same thing as we went through with the deal. This is their new game plan. They think because Trump got arrested over the illegal raid of Mar-a-Lago over the documents. Now this is, since being thugs and everything else didn't work and lying to the public and everybody's exposing them didn't work. They're going, what the hell? How in the hell do we come up? They're losing at every front. Carl DeMaio's on it here, our assemblyman. And these update things drive you absolutely nuts. He comes up and has he's looking into it. $34 million of California taxpayer money that appears to be, look at, most of the money is going to community organizing. Have you heard that before? Community outreach. And on and on and on it goes. Millions of that. They're supposed to be, they said, oh, we got to help the illegal alien. I'm telling you, there's no justice in the world with these guys. Laura Powell, Jen Van Laar, Carl DeMaio are all starting to look into this. But look at the pattern. The David Herta, SEIU getting arrested, and Salas. It's like this mask guy. How the hell do they have all this stuff and been reported he's part of or some sort of related to the Teamsters Union? The tangled web of all this is starting to get unraveled. It's been the deep state. It's been our government. It's been the public employee unions. It's been these so-called non-government agencies or nonprofits. This is from Laura Powell. I've been reviewing the scope of Chirla's lobbying activities in Sacramento. While most of the bills the organization supports relate to immigration, several have no clear connection to immigrant issues, suggesting that Chirla is advancing a broader political agenda. A bill, AB 93, that would have prohibited peace officers from conducting warrantless searches even with the suspect's consent. It failed to pass, luckily, in 2023. SB 98, signed into law in 2024, a bill that requires the Legislative Analyst's Office to study the impact of changing school funding metrics from daily attendance to total enrollment. Why don't we just give everybody a check for 24 grand and say, do what you want with your kids? Because that's essentially what we're doing. They don't even have to show up. And this is just like this little deal Levia, our school board member, had. This sounds like the stuff that we're uncovering that Chirla was in, like this, don't come out. What in the hell? Moreno Valley Unified Crime Syndicate is about education or the kids, and you got them over here, and you got the same rhetoric going on. It sounds almost exactly like the activities of Chirla. If immigration or know your rights, or if they're coming, you don't have to talk to law enforcement. How to evade, how to avoid. If they have police on there, they're using our money, and they have for decades. Who knows how many trillions of dollars has went to finance? This is how they got 75% of the California legislature and all the state government offices and a majority of city councils and school districts, and then ran every single frickin' agency into the ground in the state. Much less a Trump today, and we'll get to this in a second, had to turn around the gasoline and diesel car ban in California. California pumped tens of millions into immigration NGOs that fight deportation, track ICE, and more. It's from open to the public. How much more evidence do we need to compile? This is what Trump has been on. It's what Pam Bondi, Tom Homan, RFK Jr., Scott Bessent, Bill Asaley are all working on, and they are trying to prevent. We had the whole Trump is right, which I love, as we ponder into the Trump press conference. Let's see. We had the Trump is right clip. Let's see if we can get up where he's signing back in that you can actually buy a car that will get you to where you want to go. Let's see if the Trumpster will play.
17 other states follow California. That's the problem. 17 other states follow California. They have the most ridiculous laws I've ever seen for a lot of things. This is just cars, and trucks, and they have a lot of them for other things. But we have, it's called the California Car Standards, and this horrible scheme would effectively abolish the internal combustion engine, which most people prefer. Like so far, I'd say about 90%. In fact, General Motors announced yesterday they're going to spend about $6 billion on because of tariffs and maybe because of my election on November 5th. But
they're going to, General Motors, for freaking crying out loud, is going back to building V8 American muscle car power for cars. Just like Ford and Toyota and everybody else. The head of Toyota told you. He said before, this electric car pipe dream was going nowhere. In fact, it would destroy not only the United States, but the world if we keep up with this crap. It's delusional. It's delusional that we would think that anytime soon we would come anywhere close. The technology for electric cars is so far in the future. The bullet train the non-existent bullet train may come before we get electric cars to be a viable option.
And I respect President Xi a lot. And we made a deal that's good for both countries. The deal we made with China, good for both countries. Going to be a lot of money made, and it's going to ultimately open up China, which is the ultimate thing. And I'm going to be working with President Xi. We had a long talk about it. And that's going to be good for China. It's going to be good for us.
Yeah. They were agreeing, subject to final approval by Trump and Ping Pong. China is only going to charge 10% for goods coming into China. We are going to get 55%. 55%. And you know who's going to eat that? China. Inflation's coming down. Do you hear that being reported? See if we can get the next clip up. For Donald J., our esteemed president. Here we go. No, we don't. Wrong one. Let's see if we can get the right clip up. Here we go.
We have a company, a great company, Nippon. They're coming in from Japan. They're going to spend $17 billion. And somebody said, well, what happens if it doesn't work out? I said, they spent $17 billion. We can't put it on a trailer and drive it to Japan. This is a steel mill. You know, some businesses you can move. You move your office, and that's where the business is. With this business, they're spending think of that, $17 billion. They're going to have them all over the country. I want to introduce several.
There we go. Now companies are investing in the United States because they know they won't be hijacked. They won't be shaken down by thugs disguised as politicians working for the cartels to shake them down for money. They know the nonsense is over. Here's Trump on the train.
November 5th, because they see the results now. They're all happening. And yeah, and they have plants moving in, Brian. A lot of plants are moving in. Thank you very much for that question. Yeah.
Trying to kill the auto industry.
Oh, he was killing the auto industry. I don't think he knew it. I think he's a guy who he's just got a faulty thought process. You look at that train. The train is the most. I've seen people, stupid people with cost overruns for years. I've watched where something would cost twice as much or 3 times, but this thing is costing 20 times more. It's the most incredible disaster I've ever seen.
Faulty brain power from Gavin Newsom. Donald Trump is just stating the obvious. In the style, this is why they can't get away with Trump. Trump's persona is doing that. If Alex Padilla and Norma Torres and all these chumps try to do it, they are going to even have a deeper epic fail, so we encourage them to make idiots of them.
Like Gavin, I've liked him always. He said I never called him. You know, they asked him a question on Fox, I guess. I never spoke to him. He doesn't remember the call. He doesn't remember. I never spoke. And then I produced a phone call. I had it. It took me about 2 minutes. I said, well, here's the call. It lasted 16 minutes and 4 seconds. And it was at 12:30 in the evening. I actually made a call, didn't pick up. I called him a second time, and he picked up. And I told him, I said, you have to get your ass in gear because you're going to have a problem there.
Yes. That's the superior talking to the subordinate. Hey, you better get your ass in gear. Last one from the Trumpster.
So we have a great country, and we're going to keep it that way. And when it comes to Los Angeles or other cities, if we see other cities are gearing up, and these people are agitators, they're paid, they're professionals, they're insurrectionists, they're troublemakers, they're all of those things. But I believe they're paid, and we're going to find out through.
This is the whole thing that's going to bust through on Shirla. And the whole USAID, what's been going on with the military, the politicians, and everything else that's been creeping up on this whole ridiculous, incestuous assault we've been having almost every day. And it's going to stop. I believe. Well, let's put it this way. This is our best chance, at least in my lifetime, which has spanned over 7 decades, to stop this stuff. And if we don't stop it now, we will never stop it. Hit some of the local news before we roll out of here. Try and roll through it fast. Emergency closure in Norco on the freeway. So those of you that had to endure that, Supervisor Hagman, who had an update. Canyon Lake has been hit by an algae, so be careful swimming in there or catching any of the fish. I would recommend not doing it, but hey, whatever. Harupa Valley has canceled their community emergency response team's basic course, so they'll let you know when they get it back. Like Trump said, he should be thanking Mr. Donald J. for saving his ass. Moval Movies and Moval Rocks are back on Thursday and Friday this summer. And Moval Free Dump Day tomorrow, or Saturday, in Moval at the Waste Management Facility. Night of Destruction's coming up at Parasado Speedway Saturday. Mike Ramos, former DA, has been suspended by the state bar. And we all know that story. We covered it a lot on this show and the previous one I was on. Of that, San Bernardino cops, remembering one of their fallen heroes, Murrieta, police volunteers on firearm safety. They've been running some courses on that, so if you want to shoot firearms safely, get a hold of Marina Valley Cops. Hemet Police, I cannot thank them enough for really cracking down on retail theft. This is why we got to open up the Indio jail, so we can incarcerate all the new members that will be showing up. City of Corona is going to have a DUI checkpoint. There's the art of the deal. Donald J. with announcing the China tariff trade deal. Did you know City of Harupa San Jacinto is calling it Doctor's Day? Chino Police Department wants you. They are hiring, so if you want to become a cop, let them know. Riverside County DA Mike Hestron was in the San Gorgonio Pass Rotary Breakfast in Banning. It's a good job there. San Bernardino cops guiding their stars. City of Corona Police were on Cookie Day, so good treats for them. At least they were off the donuts. Ha ha ha. California Assembly Republicans kick off the budget. Boy, are we going to get screwed on that. Rialto Police, that's why we got to elect better members. Rialto cops, Kudos for you for getting arresting a porch pilot suspect. This is what we're talking about. Oh, we got through all the local genre of news going on there quickly. All we can say, we got to get after it. Take the phone and turn it off. If what's going on in this country right now doesn't motivate you, if you want to be able to turn that phone on and watch your porno or whatever crap you're watching on it or this, or go take a trip to Disneyland, or go to Paris Auto Speedway and watch Night of Destruction, or like the rodeo last week in Harupa, or whatever, then you better get your ass off the seat and get out there and get engaged. Or the thugs will take over. The cartels will continue to get more control. If you want jobs and opportunity and you want other countries to invest, they're investing because Donald J's in and putting a stop to it. If you want to get the Newsoms, Padilla, and Norma Torreses, and Ulysses Cabrera, and on, one day you'll think, how did that happen when they're throwing you in the gulag? And you know what? They're going to take your little phone away when they do that. To be forewarned is to be forearmed, but the only way this stops is if you get in the ball game. And we need more warriors in the ball game. That'll do it for today. We usually say it this time. Mandatory, you're back here in 23 hours. Why? On this Practice Friday to hear the best darn show in the whole wide world. Until then, see ya.
All right. Have a great night.
We'll see you.
Bye.